Ding dong YouTube, welcome back to the channel, The Jobless Coder here, and today I want to talk about how desperation creates stupidity. Now, I've done a lot of stupid things in my life, but none of them are as bad as the decisions that I have made when I have been in a very desperate situation. And if you look at my video that I put out just a couple weeks ago, you can see that my decision to ride a bike without a helmet down a steeply inclined hill, a distance of what would have been 16 kilometers to a job interview, was a pretty stupid decision because, as you can see from the video, I didn't make the job interview. I ended up in a big crash and I ended up having the fire department have to get my foot out of my bike that was stuck there, and I ended up having to go to the health clinic nearby and get bandaged up, and my knee is still pretty sore and damaged after all that. I mean, it was ripped open practically to the bone, and that was a decision I made because I'm in a desperate situation, because at this point I only have less than $30 in my bank account, and so I can't even afford transit. I can't afford a taxi, my vehicle's unregistered, and I was desperate to get there for this job interview so that I could get the job, so I made a stupid decision. And what's probably worse than that is the decision I made following the next week when I was actually allowed to reschedule the interview, and again, without any means of transit, and now I didn't even have a bike because it was broken and in repair and it was stuck at the fire department. I decided to walk over 30 kilometers the entire day for this job interview, and I did it on an injured knee too, which probably caused more damage in the long run. And I mean, it's still healing at this point. I don't know if there's any permanent damage that would be caused to it, but I certainly risk the fact that I could have caused permanent damage, and again, because I am in a desperate situation. And one of the biggest reasons that I believe that I can't find a job is because I don't have a degree. I don't have a degree because I dropped out of university. I dropped out of university because I was desperate for money, or a job, or anything. I was tired of not getting any employment during the summer. I mean, I was taking classes during the summer that had nothing to do with my degree. They were basically throwaway classes just so that I could get a student loan. Was that the smartest decision to make? Probably not. It's not a very good idea to take throwaway classes that don't further your degree and get further in debt, further into a loan, just for the purpose of living. And that was because I was desperate, because I didn't have any money, and I still don't have any money. And so because of those reasons, I decided to drop out of university and move to what is one of the most expensive cities in the entire world, looking for a job in computer science, which is the area of expertise I have. And that's because the province I was living in just doesn't have a lot for computer jobs, and I didn't want to live there anymore. And I was done with university. I was done with wasting my time in a classroom doing tests and doing assignments that nobody cared about, and learning things that I didn't care about. I mean, I wasn't having any fun anymore, and I was in a desperate situation. I couldn't get any roommates to stay at my place anymore. I was living basically rent-free in a house that my parents had bought me, and they were paying the mortgage. And the idea was to have roommates in there so that they could pay rent that would help cover the mortgage. But because I didn't have any source of income, I wasn't paying rent, and because all of my roommates eventually left, I was basically living alone. And so I was dealing with this stress every day from my parents that, oh, I'm not productive, I'm not doing anything. And yes, they were proud of my work that I did in university, the fact that I was passing classes and getting good grades, but I was desperate to be more, because I wasn't good enough, or at least that's the impression that I got, because I was their bum of a child that was living rent-free, dealing with mental illness, not being able to keep roommates, not paying any money for anything. And so I was desperate to get out of that situation. I wanted so desperately to better my life, and which is why I moved to Vancouver. And now, over a year later, from almost a year since I made my move out here, I'm in a more desperate situation than I've ever been my entire life. And I had a friend recently say to me, well, being in a desperate situation doesn't justify stupidity. And no, it certainly doesn't. But at least there's an explanation or a reason to the things that I do. I mean, I don't just make decisions blindly because I want to burn my life to the ground, but I make the decisions because I feel that those are the choices that will help better my situation. And even though that's my intended outcome, all of the decisions I have made have had the exact opposite effect. And that's because the biggest, most important decisions I make when I'm in a desperate situation. So if there's anything to be learned from my experiences at all, it's, well, I probably shouldn't make any more decisions any at all. Well, no, I have to make choices. I mean, I have no other choice but to continue making choices. And I told somebody, because they said, well, what are you going to do with your life? And I said, I don't know, but I'm going to make choices, and they're going to be bad choices, and they're probably going to get me in a worse situation than I currently am. And I have no other alternative, because what are you supposed to do? I mean, you can't just hit the pause button on life. You can't just hit reset and start over. You have to make choices. And if you're making the choices from a situation where you're desperate, then you're not thinking clearly enough. You're not focused clearly enough on the goals that you have to understand the path that needs to be taken to get there. And so if you make decisions when you're in a desperate situation, you're probably going to end up in a bad situation like me. And I don't really know how I'm going to fix everything. I don't know if I even can fix everything, at least not with somebody coming and stepping in and, like I said, making the decisions for me. But I'm probably going to be forced against my will to move back into my parents' place just to avoid homelessness. And that's a decision that I won't get to make. And I won't get to make very many decisions if I'm living with my parents, because I mean, I won't have any personal freedoms. I won't have any control over my life, and so those decisions get made for me. And that's simply because I all the decisions I have made have been the wrong ones. And I just, yeah, if there's anything that can be taken away from this video, it's that you should definitely put more thought and effort into the plan that you have for your life. And again, don't make decisions when you're not in the proper headspace to see past the immediate. Everybody deals with the immediate. It's all about, oh, what's gonna cover the rent and what's gonna pay the meals and stuff like that. But those decisions get clouded because you're not able to clearly see into the future to see how this decision can affect you. And I never considered that signing a year-long lease would then mean that I'm stuck here, meaning that I can't easily just move back to some place that's cheaper. And I didn't see far enough into the future to understand that, yes, the tech jobs are here, but they're mostly in the downtown core of Vancouver, which is 3 or 4 or even 5 or more times expensive as where I live in the metro area in Burnaby. And so I can't easily get to those jobs anyways. So I might as well live someplace that's cheaper, because it's not like being in Vancouver has any benefit to me anymore anyways, such as being closer to the tech type of jobs. Other than that, I think that's about all I have to say on this subject. And if you like it at all or have anything to say in the comments below, then feel free to add your opinion. And I'll be putting out some more videos in the future, so feel free to subscribe. And thank you for watching. Bye.